Hey Meta, start recording. Hola, tengo $20. ¿Qué precio? 240.
This guy is about to sell me local currency for double the official rate, but he's not the only one I could buy from. These informal money traders are everywhere, in the city square, in the markets, even here in a Burger King parking lot. It's a sign of how rough the economy really is in this country. So where am I? Let's take a step back. I'm interested in what everyday people do when their economies break and how they find ways to solve their own problems. And I started hearing about this one place that I don't think is on many people's radar.
Del Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia.
A new chapter has begun in Bolivia.
The newly inaugurated president has a big challenge ahead of him. Bolivia is going through its worst economic crisis in 40 years.
Bolivia is one of the fastest growing crypto and stablecoin markets. There's a correlation with this and its declining economy.
Bolivia's government letting state energy firm YPFB use cryptocurrency to pay for fuel cargoes and to pay companies.
But what's actually happening on the ground? So I'm headed to Bolivia to explore how businesses are using stablecoins to survive.
The sign of Bolivia's acute economic decay. Hundreds of cars lined up for endless blocks.
Here in Santa Cruz, the economic capital of Bolivia, the first thing I saw when I left the airport is this. A row of trucks lining the side of the highway. These trucks are waiting for diesel, and there's a shortage.
Están los camioneros varados ahí esperando cargar diésel, gasolina. Y esa gente está sufriendo por el tema del gobierno. Pues si el gobierno tuviera dólares, compraría como antes, ¿no?
Bolivia's government is running out of dollars.
Bolivia's net foreign reserves have fallen from a peak of over $14 billion in 2014.
Solo quedan $73 millones. Estamos reventados.
And as a result, the country can't import diesel. So if there's not enough dollars for something that critical, how are small businesses surviving?
Bueno, mi nombre es Guillermo Barea, soy gerente general de Cooperagro.
Cooperagro is an agricultural supplier, and like many businesses here, they're struggling to access dollars.
Nosotros importamos el 99% de los productos de afuera de diferentes países y no se produce ni el 1% localmente en insumos agrícolas. Entonces el tema de pago al proveedor fue bastante crítico y a través de esa necesidad tuvimos que buscar las alternativas que hay disponibles para poder pagar afuera a los proveedores.
How did you solve these dollar problems?
Actualmente estamos haciendo vía banco. Me atrevo a decir, no estoy tan seguro, un 30% ya vía banco, pero la gran mayoría hemos estado haciendo con criptomonedas.
Because of its dollar shortage, Bolivia is one of the fastest growing crypto markets in the world. Crypto was illegal in Bolivia until June 2024, when regulation led to an explosion of growth. Bolivia's central bank reports that digital asset transaction volumes have skyrocketed from $46.5 million in the first half of 2024 to almost $300 million in the same period of 2025, a year-over-year growth of over 500%.
Hacemos la compra de los USDTs por Binance.
But if the economy got so bad that traditional businesses are trading crypto on peer-to-peer exchanges, then how did Bolivia get here?
Bolivia's economic miracle was not sustainable.
Bolivia's main export is natural gas, but its production has fallen severely since 2014, impacted by a lack of new investments and leading to declining revenue. Between 2014 and 2024, Bolivia's oil revenues decreased from around $5.5 billion to $1.6 billion. Meanwhile, Bolivia also has fuel subsidies, which in 2024 accounted for more than half of its fiscal deficit, and its continued spending has depleted its foreign exchange reserves, which have collapsed from $15 billion in 2014 to $50 million in actual liquid currency in 2024. Meanwhile, the informal market for dollars has grown in Bolivia because dollars can't be accessed the traditional way through the banks.
Hola, tengo dólares y quiero bolivianos. ¿Sí? ¿Qué precio? ¿A qué precio? ¿A qué precio? ¿A qué precio?
Because of dollar shortages, banks have restricted the amount of dollars their customers can access. Card spending is limited to just $100 per month. So this has led to a parallel economy. Officially, it costs a fixed rate of 6.96 Bolivianos to buy $1. But banks don't actually have dollars to offer you at that rate. Today, Bolivians who need dollars turn to the informal market, where the quote-unquote real price at the time of my trip was 13 Bolivianos to $1, or twice as expensive as the official rate. And at Cooperagro, Guillermo's daughter Karina is the one actually buying stablecoins at that price.
Que sabemos que igual comprar los dólares mediante Binance era comprarlo al doble o al triple, dependiendo cómo subían y bajaban. Pero también cuando comparábamos todos los días las tasas de cambio en los bancos para poder realizar las operaciones, aún así ahorrábamos. Y aparte que tampoco te daban la seguridad, porque a veces te decían un día, ay sí, podemos sacar cierta cantidad. Esperabas 2-3 días, te llamaban y te decían, no, ya no.
But this method has led to complex payment operations.
Primero comenzamos probando, ¿no? Con unos 20, 50 y de ahí nos hicieron unas operaciones de unos 200 o 150 mil. Pero igual sigue ese problema de que no podemos comprar cantidades grandes de una sola operación. Tenemos que dividirlas hasta a veces en 13, 14, 15 pagos. Pero era la única forma, ¿no?
Copper is making up to 15 small transactions per month on Binance to buy $250,000 in stablecoins. And then they have to convert it back to fiat to pay their suppliers in dollars.
Luego pasamos al Tower Bank, los USDT, y a las 24 horas los transformamos en el mismo Tower Bank a dólares. Y del Tower Bank pagamos a Noruega, pagamos a Uruguay, pagamos a China, pagamos a Argentina, al proveedor que necesitemos pagar. Ha sido la forma que hemos estado pagando actualmente en mayor cantidad.
Copper has hacked together a solution, but when Bolivia recently legalized cryptocurrencies, it led to a growth in more formal apps as well.
Justin? 1999.
To get around Santa Cruz, I paid my Uber drivers with Meru, a local crypto wallet built on the Stellar blockchain that allowed me to pay with stablecoins via QR code.
Trace it.
The USDC was converted to Bolivianos at the parallel rate, so this ride for 13 Bolivianos cost me just over $1. If I had paid with my card at the official rate, it would have been twice as much.
Gracias. Adios.
For Bolivians, Meru is enabling access to dollar stablecoins in lieu of actual dollars from the banks. But the country wasn't initially on Meru's radar.
Bolivia has been a surprise.
That's Carlos Neira, a co-founder of Meru.
We decided to go non-traditional way as a startup. We didn't launch in one country, try to grow that country before going to a second and third market. We launched our product and we made it available to anyone, basically globally. Last June, the Central Bank of Bolivia made a decree in which the use of digital assets was no longer illegal. And all of a sudden, we started to see a little blip of adoption from Bolivia. Also, there were a couple of content creators that found out about Meru and suggested the use of the product as a workaround to the problems that the country was having. And that was what created the spike in demand that we were seeing back in our office and saying, what's going on with Bolivia?
So Bolivia wasn't on your radar at all?
No, we realized that our product was built with a general requirements that we thought could be attractive to people in Latin America, was right spot on what a person in Bolivia would require. And so we started to develop functionality and on and off ramp capabilities more relevant and more appropriate for Bolivia.
The specific feature that led to Meru's growth in Bolivia is its stablecoin cards, issued by the stablecoin infrastructure company, Rain.
Especially for Bolivia, of course, it makes sense to use the card for US dollar expenses. So this is a very convenient solution for small businesses, for entrepreneurs, and for travelers who normally will spend abroad.
Stablecoin-linked cards bridge the gap between stablecoin and fiat, enabling Bolivians to access dollar stablecoins and to use them to pay global merchants in fiat anywhere in the world. Global merchants don't accept local currencies, which means that buying online requires you or your bank to have dollars.
Ahorita como Bolivia no fabrica nada, entonces prácticamente todos los productos son importados. Normalmente los productos que importamos en su mayoría son de China.
That's Hafet Justiano, an entrepreneur, importer, and Meru user.
Prácticamente fue una solución diferente y más económica y accesible. Meru nos brindó dos cosas. Primero, la tarjeta virtual, es decir que nosotros podíamos recargarlas a través de bolivianos, hacer un cambio con USDT o USDC, tener los dólares en nuestra tarjeta y la mayoría de plataformas como eBay, como Amazon, como Alibaba, como Taobao, todas estas plataformas te permiten pagar a través de tarjeta. Pero adicional a eso, Meru brindó una sección donde podías hacer giros de banco a banco, ya sea de Brasil, ya sea de China, de Estados Unidos. Entonces, prácticamente si el proveedor no te aceptaba un enlace de pago, podías pagarle con los datos de su cuenta bancaria que te proporcionaba. Entonces, teníamos las dos opciones. Yo lo que siento prácticamente es que como bolivianos, como importadores, como emprendedores, realmente, o sea, nos hemos visto muy afectados, ¿no? Y eso se refleja en los ingresos.
So this is what it looks like when a country runs out of dollars. Traders outside of Burger King, a 30-year-old company doing peer-to-peer crypto trades, and new stablecoin infrastructure enabling global spending. I don't want to overstate the role that stablecoins are playing in Bolivia. The vast majority of the country doesn't use them and has probably never heard of them. But by giving Bolivians permissionless access to dollar assets, stablecoins are truly a lifeline for the businesses that literally can't access dollars through the banks. When I was leaving Bolivia, I was intrigued to see at the duty-free shop that the prices were listed in USDT. But when I asked how I could pay with stablecoins...
So it's priced in crypto, but you don't accept crypto?
Momentáneamente sí.
Okay.
The duty-free shop charges in dollar digital assets at the parallel rate, meaning that they will receive twice as many Bolivianos than the official rate. So if businesses or companies bringing dollars into the country choose to do so on the parallel market, it may make Bolivia's dollar scarcity even worse. And if so, stablecoins will play an increasingly important role in the country. On the next episode of Money Trails,
I'm from Tanzania. I'm from Kosovo.
Algeria. Lagos, Nigeria.
We explore how the global financial ecosystem doesn't work for millions of remote workers in emerging markets around the world.
They suspend people's accounts, seize their money.
Sometimes the money is just frozen.
And a lot of issues when it comes to payment.
You know how much I'm frustrated.